Good morning and welcome to What's Up News Network, being broadcast from Panama City Beach, Florida, the home of the world's most beautiful beaches. I am Jim Free with Jim Free Realty. Please click on the red subscribe button just below the picture, and I would certainly appreciate it. In the real estate market, we have 110 condo units available, 48 of which are Gulf front. This is unheard of. In the detached single family, we have 125 units available. 20 of those are Gulf front units. And in the attached single family, we have 20 units, and only one of those is Gulf front. Out of the some 11,000 Gulf front units, we have only 48 units on the market, or less than 1%. Because of the low inventory, the prices are up, which is an excellent opportunity for sellers. Also, interest rates are down, so it's a good opportunity for buyers who are financing their purchase. In the local news, Panama City Beach, Florida. At today's City Council meeting, Drew Whitman, the Chief of Police, now is officially stepping into his new role as City Manager. Whitman named Deputy Chief Lindsay as Interim Chief. The city has also named Holly White as Assistant City Manager. She was the assistant to the City Manager for Finance since 2001. Drew Whitman has been with the Panama City Beach Police Department for 30 years, 9 of those as chief. Bay County's artificial reef system is getting some new material, courtesy of Oceaneering at Port Panama City. The manufacturing facility is giving 6 large reels to the county for the artificial reef program. They'll be sunk to the reefs to help increase fish populations. As we grow our reef system, the habitat for our fish to thrive on the Gulf, the bottom of the Gulf is just sand, Dozier said. There are some natural reefs, so we added that by artificial reefs, and that allows the fish to have a habitat to thrive in. The large reels are used to wrap the cabling that Oceaneering produces, but also make for good reef material. If put on the ground floor of the Gulf, according to Bay County Commissioner Bill Dozier. We appreciate Oceaneering stepping up and thinking of the reef program and how it benefits the environment through the fishing industry and through the diving community, he said. We're very appreciative of Oceaneering doing that, and the port has worked in this situation as well. The item was added to the agenda during the additional comments at Tuesday's regular meeting by Dozier. He said the Commission will now draft up an agreement with Oceaneering to proceed with the reel exchange before planning to sink them on the reef sites. On the state news, in Manatee County, Tampa Bay supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement have strong criticism for Florida's anti-right law, signed by Governor Ron Desantis this week. Black Lives Matter held a rally with roughly 40 people in attendance Wednesday night in Bradenton in front of the Manatee County Courthouse. Organizers claim they invited numerous city and county leaders who did not attend. In the international news, Indonesian Navy ships were scouring the waters right off of Bali on Friday as they raced against time to find a submarine that disappeared 2 days ago and has less than a day's supply of oxygen for the 53 crew members. We've received notice this morning that the Indonesian authorities have said that the vessel is lost and there is no change of survivors. So now this becomes a recovery mission, and our prayers go out to the family members of those 53 sailors that were aboard that Indonesian ship. General Ahmed Rad told reporters of the grim news this morning. On a home visit, I had the opportunity to visit family and friends in Rome, Georgia, Blue Ridge, Georgia over the past 10 days. I'm trying to find myself, as some of the younger folks say. I've about decided I must be a mixture of hillbilly, redneck, and beach bum. I had the opportunity to meet with my cousin Jerry Lee Sartin, and he said that he had just finished settling our Aunt Martha's estate. Martha was a retired old maid school teacher, and she had traveled all over the world collecting rare books. We were all surprised when she named her nephew Jerry as her executor in her estate, because everyone knew his elevator didn't go all the way to the top. I guess it was because Jerry Lee was the eldest nephew. He told me it was crazy. They were book collectors from all over the country came to look at Martha's collection. He said one of the collectors was particularly interested in her Bible collection. The collector said it was rumored that your aunt found one of the original Gutenberg Bibles in a German marketplace. Jerry Lee said, "Yeah, I remember seeing one that had that name John Gutenberg written in it, but I threw it away." The collector said, "Sir, I can't believe that you did that. It could be worth millions." There were only 3 of the original 35 copies in existence, and if that could be authenticated as one of the missing copies, it would be priceless. Jerry Lee said, "I don't think the Bible would be worth anything. It was worn out, and some guy named Martin Luther had written notes all over it." Well, there you go. Well, I was told that my niece Judy almost died. That's right, she almost died from embarrassment. Judy is a beautiful young lady, and they have a toddler named Jack. Judy had just stepped out of the shower and found that Jack had taken a roll of toilet paper and wrapped it around himself. Judy ran to the living room to retrieve her camera and took a picture of Jack. The picture turned out so cute, she had several copies made and stuffed them in the Christmas cards she was sending out to all her friends. The next day, Judy's mom called and said, "Darling, you need to take a closer look at the picture you took of Jack. He is not the only image you captured in the mirror." I want to speak a little bit this morning about light versus darkness. Let's talk about race. We hear so much about it today in the media and from politicians. First, we need to understand there is but one race, and that is the human race. We are all God's children, and He loves all of us, and we are told we should love our neighbor as ourselves. Well, if that's true, why does it appear to be so much discord in our country and around the world about race? I was told many years ago by my grandfather, if you want to find the source of evil, just follow the money and power. And I believe he was right. We are in a battle between light and darkness. In the 3rd verse of the first book of the Bible, Genesis, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Light is mentioned 95 times in the Bible, and darkness 47. So these were important issues to our Lord. Jesus Christ is our light, and Satan is responsible for the darkness. I think Charles Barkley was right when he said some of both political parties are guilty of race baiting to protect their power and money, and anyone that listens to them is stupid. Unfortunately, politicians and national news media are saturating us with lies that inflame racial tensions. I have close friends of all races. I also have friends of all races that I don't particularly like, but I am commanded to love all my neighbors. This past week, I was listening to a reporter in Minnesota interviewing demonstrators, and he was asking how many blacks were killed by police, and they said thousands. I decided to look at some statistics from the FBI's Uniform Crime Report, and I did this over a period of years, and the trend seems to be pretty stable. Now, it's said that you can make statistics say anything you want to, and to some extent that is true, and the media often distorts their reporting on statistics. The first thing I want to look at is homicides by race in a typical year. There are approximately 6,575 murders in this country each year. Out of that 6,575, there are 3,299 white people that are murdered. The offender's race, the person who actually killed them, were 79% of those white people were killed by white people. 17% of the white people were killed by black people. All right, looking at black citizens, there were 2,906 murders of black citizens. 89% of those black citizens were killed by other black citizens, and 8% of those black citizens were killed by white citizens. And I didn't go into the other races because they're a small number, a total of about 373 as compared to the 3,299 of the whites being murdered and 2,906 blacks being murdered. Now that report came directly from the 2019 Uniform Crime Report from the FBI, so you'll be able to see a copy of that. The next graph I want to show you is killing by police during arrest by circumstances. And this comparison is by population. Now, the U.S. population, 13% of the U.S. population is black, 63% is white, and 17% is Hispanic, and then the remainder is something else. If you will look at the victims of police shooting, you will see that there were 31% of blacks that were killed by a police officer. And this is where you can see some issues here, some problems, because a higher percentage of blacks are killed according to population than are whites. Only there's 63% of the population is white, but only 52% of the victims of police shootings were white, whereas blacks have 13% of the population and 31% are the victims of police shootings. Now, why would that occur? Well, there may be some things that we can explain why the difference, why it's not in line with the population. The next graph I want to show you is police-related fatalities by race. And you'll notice the first column is red, and there are 321 white people that have been killed by police per year. And this is a kind of an average. I went back over several years, but the figures didn't change that much, so I just took typical years. So in a typical year, 321 white people are killed by police officers. 174 black people are killed by police officers. 96 Hispanic, 50 unknown, 12 Asian Pacific, and I assume that's probably mostly out on the West Coast. 8 Native Americans and 3 Arab Americans. So that gives us an idea of what race has the most, but it still is out of skewed with the population. Now, there were 174 black deaths, but if we look at our population figures, which is 332,484 and 410, we can see that that even that it's kind of a small number. But even one death is one death too many. That even if the perpetrator that was shot by the police had to be shot by the police, it's still difficult for family and friends to live with. So these are some of the statistics there. Now, here's one that's kind of interesting: is interracial violence crimes statistics, and I pulled that from 2018. The source of it was originally from the Uniform Crime Report. I apologize for this because it's blurry, and I couldn't find one that wasn't blurry, one of the charts. If you will look at this, the first column, a blue column, is black on white crime, meaning the victim was white and the perpetrator was black. And you'll see there are over 547 violent crimes where white people were victimized by blacks. If you look at the second column, there's about 132 Hispanics that were victimized by blacks. If you look on column 3, which is yellow, they were 59 white on black crimes, where white were the perpetrator and blacks were the victim. And if you look at the white on Hispanic crimes, you see that 207, or 200, I believe that's 207,154 crimes were perpetrated on Hispanics by whites. And if you look at column 5, which is a red column, you'll see that the victims there were white and the perpetrator was Hispanic. And then the last column, you'll see the 44,000 blacks were victimized by Hispanics with crimes. So we do have some problems, and there's no question about that. We have a problem with crime. And what causes crime? Sin. So we need to work on those issues. But I noticed that it's pretty constant throughout the last 10 years. We haven't had any big growths or anything. All right, enough of the graphs. I would like for you to listen to what Congressman Burgess Owens has to say about Georgia's new voting law.
Thank you, Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, and the members of the committee for the invitation to join you today at this hearing. My American story begins with my great-great-grandfather, Silas Burgess, who arrived in America as a child, shackled in the belly of a slave ship. Silas was sold on an auction block with his mother in Charleston, South Carolina, to the Burgess plantation. He escaped through the Underground Railroad and later became a successful entrepreneur, purchasing 102 acres of farmland paid off in 2 years. My grandfather, Oscar Kirby, served our country in World War I and was a respected and successful farmer, raising 12 children, all of them graduating from college. My father, Clarence Burgess Owens Sr., was stationed in the Philippines at the end of World War II. When he returned home to Texas, actual Jim Crow laws denied him a postgraduate education. Raised in a generation that used this as motivation, he received his PhD in agronomy at Ohio State University and had a successful career as professor, researcher, and entrepreneur. I grew up in the era of actual legalized institutional racism. I grew up in the Deep South in Tallahassee, Florida, in the 1960s during the days of KKK, Jim Crow, and segregation. My first experience with white Americans was at 16 years old. At 18, I was the third black athlete to receive a scholarship to play football at the University of Miami. Now I proudly represent Utah's 4th Congressional District in the U.S. Congress. I sit today before you as someone who's lived the American dream, as have millions of other Americans of all races from every background. This is due to our country's mission statement that all men and women are created equal. A mission statement that every American should have the equal opportunity for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But as someone who's actually experienced Jim Crow laws, I'd like to set the record straight on the myth regarding the recently passed Georgia state law. and why any comparison between this law and Jim Crow is absolutely outrageous. Here are a few examples of my own life of what Jim Crow laws actually look like. At the age of 12, my father allowed me to participate in a demonstration with college students in front of the segregated Florida State Theater, where because of our color, we could not enter. I was the youngest participant there. Only 50 years later did I learn that my father had parked across the street to watch and make sure I was safe. In the 7th grade, my school never received new books. Instead, we received books from the all-white school across town. At service stations, there were white men-only restrooms, white women-only restrooms, and a filthy restroom in the back of the station for black Americans designated as colored. In addition, Jim Crow laws like poll tax, property tests, literacy tests, and violence and intimidation at the polls made it nearly impossible for black Americans to vote. The section of the Georgia law that has brought so much outrage from the left simply requires any person applying for absentee ballot to include evidence of a government-issued ID on their application. If a voter does not have a driver's license or ID card, that voter can use a current utility bill, bank statement, government check, paycheck, or any other government document that shows a name and address of this voter. If a voter somehow cannot produce one of these above forms of ID, that voter can still vote and cast a vote, provisional ballot. By the way, 97% of Georgia voters already have a government-issued ID. What I find extremely offensive is the narrative from the left that black people are not smart enough, not educated enough, not desirous enough for education to do what every other culture and race does in this country, get an ID. True racism is this. It's projection of the Democratic Party on my proud race. It's called the soft bigotry of low expectation. President Biden said of the Georgia law, this is Jim Crow on steroids. With all due respect, Mr. President, you know better. It is disgusting and offensive to compare the actual voter suppression and violence of that era that we grew up in with a state law that only asked that people show their ID. This is the type of fear-mongering I expect in the 1960s, not today. And by the way, literacy tests and poll tests were initiated by the Democratic Party. The intimidation of black Americans by the KKK was initiated by the Democratic Party. Jim Crow, that I grew up in the South, of segregation, was initiated by the Democratic Party. The soft bigotry of low expectation now projected on black Americans, not Italians, not Asians, not Polish, not Jewish, but only black Americans, is being done by the Democratic Party. Where black misery today thrives and is prevalent, lack of education, lack of jobs, high crimes, the call for defund the police is all done in Democratic parties. By increasing illegal votes and not giving voice to those legal Americans, black Americans, who are seeing and waking up today, is the real tragedy of this process. We're seeing 18% of black men turn away from the Democratic Party because they're seeing that their vote can count and their future can matter. We're seeing twice the percentage of black women doing the same. A record number of Hispanics, Asians, and gay community members doing the same. So no, all Americans expect, very simply, is fairness, security, to walk away from the poll booth knowing that my vote counted. If we didn't win, we work harder next time to make sure our message resonates. But to call this Jim Crow 2021 is an insult, my friends. For those who never lived Jim Crow, we are not in Jim Crow. And for black Americans to go out every single day and vote the way we feel we should is a right that we should have, and not being demeaned by something 60 years ago in which we had no right to do any of the above. Thank you very much.
Now let's listen to Pastor Chris McRae of Sojourn Church and what he thinks about the cancel culture movement.
I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like them on a boat. I do not like them with a goat. I do not like them on a train or in the dark or in the rain. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I tell you what else I do not like. calling good things bad and wrong things right. They've come and tried to destroy our structure, barging in with this cancel culture. With angry expressions, they were sent to come with us with their agenda. You know what else makes me see red? Attacking Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head. Or Speedy Gonzales, or Pepe Le Pew, and the Bernstein Bears, to name a few. You can't say that, or you can't say this. Well, I've had enough, and I've made a list. Cancel culture has crossed a line, and I believe that it's past time for the body of Christ to take a stand, joined in unity all over the land. On Christ, the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. With cancel culture, I disagree that we can't say words like he or she. The Bible, for me, settled this issue. If this makes you mad, then grab a tissue. Male and female, God created them. And who are we to challenge him? He came to earth as a babe in the manger. To this kind of love, we were all strangers. See, Jesus came to save the lost, and he died upon that old rugged cross. Laid in that tomb for 3 whole days, the defeated foes were death, hell, and the grave. He arose with all power, dominion, and might. With the stone rolled away, he finished that fight. We can fight too. The church must stand up. Been silent too long, and I've had enough. The church at one time had abandoned her post, losing her freedom and the things we love most. This is a time where we take it all back. Yes, we'll stand up and get back on track. I started this poem with green eggs and ham, but it's really about the great I am. Let's pray. Let's pray.
The term woke has been revitalized and is being used by some politicians, corporate America, and community activists to push their agenda. I think it is time we woke up as well to put a stop to all this nonsense. Here is what Senator Rick Scott thinks about the woke movement. Dear woke corporate America, I hope you are all having fun with your virtual signaling. I hope you're enjoying trying to one-up each other and showing how woke you can be, all the while believing that you are more sophisticated and morally superior to the hard-working people of this country. You must have loved the accolades from your elitist left-wing peers when you took the Major League Baseball All-Star game from Georgia. What a fun day for you on Twitter. Congratulations. Never mind that you have destroyed working people's jobs and hurt people who haven't worked since COVID-19, took a member of their family, or destroyed their small business. You get texts from your elitist friends praising you for your courageous stand when you support mostly peaceful movements that loot small business and set fire to government buildings and take the lives of innocent people. You think that makes you morally superior to the people in what you call the flyover country. But you are lying. You are lying to America. You are lying to each other and lying to yourselves. You know that everything you have said about the election reforms in Georgia being racist is a lie. You know that the Georgia law actually expands early voting and does nothing to suppress or curtail the voting rights of anyone. And yes, the Georgia law requires an ID to vote. Well, so does Delta, and so does Major League Baseball in order to pick up tickets. It's not that you have twisted the truth, you have rejected the truth. Worse, you do not care what is true. You give the walk or wake mob concessions after concession, hoping to buy time to rake in more cash under your watch. You feel the rabble leftist mob that is shouting, America is racist, hoping they won't come for you. Amazingly, the woke liberal corporate news media is just as dishonest as you. They support your lies, and the President of the United States, Joe Biden, shows you the way. He demonstrates how to lie in public and get away with it. Let me give you woke corporate leaders a heads up. Everybody can see the game you are playing. Everybody can see your lies. You are the naked emperor. You are in fact morally inferior to the working men and women of this great country, who are not racist people and who, unlike you, care about truth. And here's another bit of news for you. There is a massive backlash coming. You will rue the day when it hits you. That day is November the 8th, 2022. That is the day the Republicans will take back the Senate and the House, and it will be a day of reckoning. Your latest attempts to hurt Georgia's economy will help us do something that is long overdue. Make your corporate welfare a thing of the past. There will be no number of well-connected lobbyists you can hire to save you. There will be no amount of donations you can make that will save you. There will be nowhere for you to hide. It turns out that power does corrupt, and you have become corrupt. American taxpayers will soon stop tolerating your lies. Your attempt to denigrate them and your attempts to control the way they think, act, and talk. A good and great people are going to rise up and stand up for the truth. They're going to stand up for their principles. They're going to stand up for their country. So cancel as many people as you can right now. Make as much money off of slave labor in communist China as you can now. Keep telling your customers how racist and sexist and unsophisticated they are. The backlash is coming. And finally, what did James Golden have to say about Maxine Waters? Quoting Mr. Golden, as we witnessed from Auntie Maxine's trial in Minnesota the other night, the left loves racial division in this nation. It is their bread and butter. Like so many other progressives, she celebrates the destruction of black communities, but has done nothing in almost 60 years to help black Americans achieve the American dream. For decades, they wanted to incite racial tensions, dwell on the past with calls for reparations, and have failed to teach our children anything better. It's simply a ploy for leftist black Democrats and their friends like Joe Biden to keep their grasp on power by putting down other black Americans. I started the New Journey PAC to show black America a better way to support black conservative candidates who will stand up to the liberals trying to poison our kids, who will foster policies that help black America truly embrace the American dream, not government handouts. I was raised to believe that not everything in this life is about race. Somehow that notion is offensive to modern liberals. They want to make everything in your life about race, no matter how far they have to stretch the truth to make it their narrative fit. The left has orchestrated a master attack on our Constitution, our voting rights, and inciting race wars that our team can barely keep up with the demands, so we can counter their lies and educate black America on the truth. Like how black Americans must rely upon the Second Amendment when Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi removed community policing from minority neighborhoods. It looks like maybe my grandfather was right. To find evil, all you have to do is follow the money and the power. Satan is the father of lies and of sin and darkness. Jesus Christ is the author of light and of truth. Until we meet again, may God bless you, your family, and this great country that we live in.